What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and I'm bringing an updated Earth Machine deck profile for Burst of Destiny. And yeah, this deck has changed a lot for the new format from my last profile a couple months ago. And if you're a fan of this channel and you watch it regularly, you know I'm a huge fan of Earth Machine, one of my favorite decks in recent years by a country mile. Absolutely love playing the deck, and I still think it is one of the most powerful decks in the room, which is a bold statement, I know, but the deck is actually so good when it goes off. And it has a lot of ways to go off through multiple interruptions, and with some new cards I'm running in this list, I think it can play through interruptions even better. I'm definitely running a list that's a little different from my lists in the past, and I'll explain that as I go along. Before we get into the profile, if you are a fan of machines and Earth Machines in general, and you like watching Harvester go burr, please leave a like on this video, consider subscribing, and yeah, it really helps us in what we do here and just keep providing top tier Yu-Gi-Oh content. Also want to let you guys know down below we do have a link to our Discord where we are growing a Yu-Gi-Oh community where you can come and, you know, hang out and talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, or we're trying to do some things on the Discord and get it to a place where maybe we can hold like tournaments and just do a bunch of fun stuff on there. So if that does sound interesting and you just want to have a Yu-Gi-Oh community you can talk with, Discord link down below. And without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Before we get into it, I do want to mention that I do have this deck profile formatted a little bit differently. It will be sort of formatted in a way where we go through our engine first and then follow it up with like flex spots and things of that nature. So we're going to run through the whole engine of the deck. So starting off with the Infinitracks, we have the 3 Harvester, the 3 Dozer, 2 Trencher, 1 Tunneler, and 1 Anchor Drill. So this is like the very standard 10 Infinitrack lineup. This ratio doesn't change much from list to list because this ratio is pretty sound. It does exactly what you need it to do. There are a couple of changes I have been thinking about recently. If you're going to fluctuate any of the ratios in this engine, it's usually Trencher down to 1. Oftentimes I think 2 Trencher is correct. However, recently post Burst of Destiny, I'm really considering upping Anchor Drill maybe to 2. And the reason for that is he is a way to play like extend past Destroy Phoenix Enforcer popping your normal summon. This deck, for as gas as it is pretty weak on normal summon if something happens to it like a bounce or a pop. That's one of the only chokeholds of the deck is right on normal summon, and Anchor Drill dodges that entirely. Cards like Anchor Drill and Dairy Crane are your ways to extend past Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, and it makes me want to add a second Anchor Drill. That's something I need to test further, but this is just like the standard 10 ratio. It is tried and true, and there's really not much deviation you can do here. So the 10 Infinitracks. Following it up, we have the Machina monsters. We have our 3 Metal Cruncher, nice and secret rare from the Mega Tins. That was such a great reprint because Metal Cruncher looks amazing in his secret rare form. The 1 Machina Fortress, and lastly the 1 Citadel. So the Machina engine is pretty much like the powerhouse engine of the deck. Because Citadel is your main boss monster. You want to be floating to Citadel and popping boards with him and just making sure you get him in grave, or having access to him after your first turn through overdrive, or just having him in grave. He is such a powerhouse of a card. And then Fortress is one of the craziest cards in the deck by far, just being almost an infinite extender and being such a good go second tool versus so many different situations. Like a lot of decks struggle versus certain cards that Earth Machine has an out to. Cards like There Can Be Only One, you can actually just cycle through Machina Fortress and Citadel continuously for just like a pretty threatening board state through such a powerful floodgate. You have things like the Scythe combo, where you can still play with Fortress and Citadel, even if you're locked into your extra deck, which is something this deck can do, is play without its extra deck, through cards like, you know, Dimensional Barrier and whatever floodgates your opponent may have for you. This deck has an out, and partly it's because of Fortress and Citadel together. And Machina Metal Cruncher is, in my opinion, the best starter, because if you draw Dozer plus him already, it almost guarantees you end on a rank 10, which is absolutely phenomenal because Super Dora is a house of a card, and that's definitely a goal you have in mind, is seeing if you can end with a rank 10, and Metal Cruncher makes it so much easier. Next, we have the 3 Trains, which is the 2 Dairy Crane and the Super Express Bullet Train. These are very important to the engine. Dairy Crane, again, like Anchor Drill, is a way to play around DPE, and Super Express Bullet Train is one of the main combo pieces of the deck. You usually search this off of your River Stormer so that you can go full combo and recycle stuff at end phase. Earth Machine has a lot of pieces you have to like keep up with and try to see by the end of your turn so that your deck functions as it should, which is just outgrinding pretty much every single deck in Yu-Gi-Oh history except maybe Full Power Sky Striker. And then Dairy Crane also has a fantastic effect for popping. This is just such a powerful engine, being able to go into rank 10s, which can end the game or set up some crazy first turn boards. The reason you run the ratio like this over like 1 Dairy Crane or even 3, while both of those are options, you can play 1, you can play 3 Dairy Crane. I choose to play 3 level 10 trains in total because it means that if I activate Metal Cruncher, I am guaranteed to see 1, and that's sort of the reason you have to play 3 of an Earth Machine, is for Metal Cruncher's effect. Last up for monsters, we have the 1 Ancient Gearbox that you have to play for your Ballista because it is such an important engine requirement. Alright, on to engine spells, we have the 3 Redeployment, the 3 Heavy Forward. These cards right here are just like your best starters as far as spells are concerned. Machina Redeployment is a crazy card. Any card that is 1 card that searches 2, I think is just absolutely ridiculous. Like Machina Redeployment being able to search for like Fortress and Metal Cruncher, meaning you can go into your Ender Blathnir play, is absolutely ridiculous. Almost every time this card's resolved, you just win the duel. Like, it's particularly weak to Ash Blossom, but if it resolves, you're in such a good position. Heavy Forward, just an additional starter. And what's really good about these cards is not only they are starters, they are extenders. So similar to Evil Twin, if you saw that deck profile or you know about the deck, Evil Twin starters are also extenders, and that is just absolutely broken. And this deck sort of has the same thing. So if you open Heavy Forward and Harvester, summon Harvester, it gets Veilered or Ashed. You can activate Heavy Forward. Search Dozer anyways. These cards are very, very good. You have to maximize them to maximize consistency. And then arguably the most powerful card in the deck that I am now maximizing is 3 Urgent Schedule. So this card I have played at so many different ratios in this deck. I've played it at 0, 1, 2, and 3. I played it at 2 the longest, but Urgent Schedule is such a powerhouse card. I mean, it is such a game-breaking card when you draw it and you can resolve it. This deck is actually phenomenal going second, and it's something I've actually been choosing to do against a lot of decks post game 1 because Urgent Schedule is ridiculous. I mean, you resolve this card, you are just so far ahead of your opponent based off this card because not only does it put 2 bodies on board, those bodies are almost always effects in the grave as well, and you can just extend so far before even committing resources from your hand. It's a crazy card, and I just want to make sure I have it because it puts this deck's power level so much higher than other decks when you see it, and I want to maximize it. It's not that great going first, of course, because you can't activate it unless you get Cypherm Gear Gamad, where this card really shines, going first, but you can set it, which is really good. It makes it a starter in the sense that it's kind of like a Sanguine for Eldritch. It's not like a start on your turn, but you can summon stuff on your opponent's turn, survive, and then your grave is full of resources to pop off an OTK on the next turn. Alright, last up for the engine cards, and longtime Earth Machine players are going to see this and they're going to be kind of disgusted, but you're just going to have to sit with me, okay? I'm on 2 Machina Overdrive. Yes, I know this is blasphemous. I've uploaded many Earth Machine deck profiles and they've all had 3 Machina Overdrive. However, in this list, there is a reason, just stick with me. I just previously mentioned I've actually been choosing to go second in a lot of situations post game 1. Game 1, I still like to go first, but what the 3rd Overdrive turned into was the 3rd Urgent Schedule. And so, like, when comparing these cards, Overdrive is obviously one of the best cards in your deck, right? It resets your engine by being a Daigusto Emerald, which can recycle your Avarice, and of course that is what gives this deck such a ridiculous grind game. It summons Machina Citadel, which can activate right then and there and be a board wipe. But Overdrive has some severe downsides that Urgent Schedule fixes. So going second Machina Overdrive is just not a great card. I mean, it's a great card, but it's not going to help you break their board, and it's really not going to help you set up your board like either. But Urgent Schedule helps break boards and either baits, negates, or sets up your board. Such a better card going second. I think that much is obvious. But like, Machina Overdrive is a weird card because this deck requires you, or like this card requires you to see a play for it to be good. Like, if you don't open playable, Machina Overdrive is bad. And if you've been a long-time Earth Machine player, you know despite how many starters are in the deck, you can draw hands like Dairy Crane, Dozer, Super Express Bullet Train, Machina Overdrive, and like another dead card, or like a go second card, we'll say. That hand's unplayable, and Machina Overdrive's not helping you. But if you draw Urgent Schedule, then that is very, very good because it will at least get you somewhere. And that is why I have put the 3rd Urgent Schedule in over the 3rd Machina Overdrive. This card is pseudo-searchable through Machina Redeployment, and you can search it decently often. It's something I like to do because Machina Overdrive is such a powerhouse card, but that is the reason we're on 2 in this list. I'm testing it out for a 3rd Urgent Schedule. This number could fluctuate, but I think it's been testing really nicely, and, you know, I'm just going to leave this at 2, so. Alright, on to the go second stuff. I'm going to start with the decently standard stuff for the format. We have 3 Forbidden Chalice and 3 Infinite Impermanence. If you have Droplets, you can run Droplets over like Chalice. However, I've been choosing Droplets, or been choosing Chalice for a reason in this deck. I think both are viable, but Chalice costing no resources is very, very good because you're already like, sometimes you're pitching cards for Machina redeployment and you're losing cards in places you wouldn't expect. So despite the fact that Droplets is good in this deck because you accrue so many resources, I think Chalice definitely has merit for being just one card spot negate, which is very, very good this format. Imperms are in here almost solely for Protos because Protos is a very bad matchup because Protos target Monk shuts down your deck. So yeah, these are just 6 spot negates that helps you like break boards, but they're also good going first because you can just set them, right? So we're running no monster hand traps in the deck. We are only running Infinite Impermanence as a hand trap because we're running more board break cards like Forbidden Chalice, which another cool thing about Chalice is you can like target your own Metal Cruncher, and not only does he go from 18 to 28 because his effect's negated, he gains 400. So I've done some cheeky plays where like target Metal Cruncher with Chalice and he's 32, swing for game over something. It's come up a couple times, but yeah, these are 6 spot negates that are just very good go second cards. Alright, now my favorite flex spot in the deck as of recent is actually Triple Book of Moon. Now this card, you will not see in Earth Machine very often, but this card is absolutely phenomenal in the deck, and I'll kind of explain why. This is my favorite spot in the deck. It is tested, it is overperformed in testing, and it's just fantastic. So not only is it great this format for a couple of reasons, being able to hit pretty much anything Sword Soul puts up because they're synchro monsters, they can be booked. Being able to hit like destroy Phoenix Enforcer and either get him off the field or have him be Book of Moon is very great. It's a card that is so flexible in the fact that it's great going second and great going first. Like there was one instance against a PK player where he made Break Sword and I Book of Mooned on summon, and it was such a crazy interrupt because not only did it stop him from popping my card, but he needed the materials under that Break Sword to be engrave. And Book of Moon does that where like something like Forbidden Chalice or Infinite Impermanence, you know, that you can still link with the monster and put the materials engrave. But that game was winnable because Book of Moon booked the Break Sword, and then not only that, Break Sword was no longer an Xyz summon card because it was flipped face down. It was actually just so good, and that's how Book of Moon is great going first and second. You know, book interrupts or like any negate when you're going second, have it be an interrupt when you're going first. But another fantastic thing Book of Moon can do in this deck is sort of like the Fluandereeze effect. It can dodge cards like Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Chalice. It can dodge those spot negates that can be so devastating. So say you summon Harvester and they imperm, right? You can chain Book of Moon, resolve your Harvester because imperm no longer has, you know, it's not going to resolve. And then you can add Dozer, and if you don't know or you're unaware, Dozer tributes for cost. So even though Harvester is face down, you can still tribute it for Dozer despite Harvester not technically being an Earth Machine. If you're unaware, if it tributes for cost, you can still tribute face down. So an example would be like back in the day, Black Wings could set a Winged Beast and then still activate Icarus attack, tributing that monster. So Dozer being able to tribute for cost is fantastic because it means you can run Book of Moon to dodge interrupts. And yeah, Book of Moon is overperformed in all of my testing with this deck, and it's at 3 for that reason. Just a fantastic go second card, fantastic go first card, and I have just been loving playing the card. Another thing to mention really quickly is that Sky Striker and Phantom Knights are kind of in the format, and Book of Moon really helps you dodge things like Widow Anchor and Fogblade as well, so that is very nice. On to the next card, we have 2 Triple Tactics Talent. This is just one of the best, you know, going second cards in the game. So devastating because it has 3 fantastic effects, and it's just really good going first if you get hand trapped as well. And then lastly, 1 Called by the Grave. This is the last spot in the deck, being the 42nd card. So yeah, Called by is fantastic. You're running it. If you're running Machina Redeployment and Urgent Schedule in your deck, you better be running Called by the Grave because Ash absolutely dominates both of those cards. Alright, on to extra deck. I'll run through this really quickly because this hasn't changed in a millennia, and it's very standard across almost all Earth Machine lists. So we're going to start with the 3 Goliath, the 1 Ancient Gear Ballista. We have the 2 Anger Knuckle. This is something that some people play at 1, but I do think you need 2. Sometimes you just really need the second one, and by sometimes I mean quite often. You have the 1 River Stormer, the 1 Gaia Charger for your River Stormer, which just makes like the River Stormer follow-up so good. 1 Dingirsu. This card is fantastic for, of course, your box and your Anchor Drill. We have the Enter Blathnir for your redeployment play. You have Earth Slicer, just one of your best go second options. You have the rank 10 train package, which is the Super Dora, my personal favorite, and then Gustav and Juggernaut Liba. These will just win you almost all of your games because it is such a threaten and go second option. And then 1 Zeus, which you can actually hard make in this deck with cards like Harvester and Dairy Crane. Harvester, target Dairy Crane, make both level 12, make Zeus, and Zeus, this is one of Zeus's best decks, I think. Like, behind Pure Go second Zoo, I think this is Zeus's best deck, because you can also put Goliath under him and make him unable to be destroyed by card effects, which is just fantastic. Alright, so that wraps it up for the main and the extra deck. I will now be going into some combos, maybe a hand test, so stay tuned for that, because the combos of this deck are definitely, this deck can do a lot of things, and the first turn combo is very important, but more important is realizing how to play a hand. So without further ado, let's get into the combos. Alright, so for a easy first turn combo, I want to actually go over the Machina redeployment combo, because there are actually so many different videos where you can find the standard dozer combo. In fact, I have a full video of nothing but combos for this deck with an older list I'm using, which the link will be down below if you want to check that out. The dozer combo is very simple, and it will be portrayed in this combo slightly different, but the Machina redeployment combo is a little bit more intricate, so I feel it would be better to show. So starting off, you're going to activate Machina redeployment, and you're going to pitch whatever card in your hand. If it's something that's good engraved, fantastic. If it's not, it doesn't really matter. And you are going to add to your hand Machina Metal Cruncher and Machina Fortress, because these are both Machina cards. Next, you are going to normal summon the Metal Cruncher, and you will reveal 3 Harvester from your deck. And this guarantees you will get a Harvester to your hand, because even though it's random, there's only Harvesters. Next, you will pitch the Fortress and the Harvester to special summon the Fortress. And then you have 2 monsters on board, you're going to link them. And then you're going to summon Ancient Gear Ballista as the first summon from your extra deck. And Ballista is going to go ahead and activate. You only have 1 target for him to search. It is the Ancient Gear box. And with Box's effect, we are going to add Infinitrack Trencher. And the reason we add Trencher here is because we're going to pitch both of these for Fortress. Because, you know, Fortress isn't an effect. It's not once per turn. Nothing about this card is once per turn because it is from 2010. And this puts Trencher in your graveyard, which now you're able to activate the Trencher, targeting the Harvester. So now, from here, this is almost like your regular dozer combo because you're going to activate Harvester's effect, but you've already used Trencher, so that's how it's going to be a little bit different along with the added bonus from the redeployment combo. So Harvester is going to search your dozer, one of the most important cards in the deck, and then you activate Harvester's effect, targeting Machina Fortress to make them both level 9s. You're not locked into any machine, restrictions yet because you haven't activated dozer. With the level 9 Fortress and Harvester, you're going to make Enter Blathnir, and you're going to activate Enter Blathnir's effect, detaching Machina Fortress. Blathnir is going to banish a random card from your hand, or not from your hand, from your opponent's hand, which is very good because it can hit really hard those second cards or force, different interactions from your opponent. So yeah, this card is fantastic and just pretty much nets you a free card out of their hand, which could be really important. From here, you're going to tribute the Ballista to special summon Dozer, and then Dozer effect is going to special Tunneler. In the regular combo, you'd special Trencher here, but because you've already used it, you're going to go ahead and get the Tunneler here. You're going to overlay these 2 monsters for the most important, well, most important is maybe a stretch, but one of the most important cards in your extra deck being the Riverstormer. We're going to activate Riverstormer's effect to search the Super Express Bullet Train. Next, I'm going to link this off into Goliath, which the reason for this is simply because we need to get Goliath's engraved for our Tunneler. Riverstormer's effect tributing Goliath special itself, and then linking off the Riverstormer for an additional Infinitrack Goliath. Again, we're just filling up that grave. We're going to pitch the Bullet Train for Machina Fortress. We can't special Bullet Train because there is a wind machine on the field, so you have to pitch it for Fortress here. Then we're going to link off the Machina Fortress and the Goliath to special summon pretty much the end board for this deck, the double-headed Anger Knuckle. And now, because we put so many resources in our grave, we can activate the Tunneler to target the Goliath, Ballista, potentially the box, but sometimes you want to leave it, the Metal Cruncher, and in this hand we're definitely going to put back the box. Shuffle these back, and then you get 2 random draws, which could be like anything. It could even be, Book of Moon, and another good card going first, like Infinite Impermanence. And yeah, so that is the redeployment combo. Essentially, it's the exact same thing as the Dozer combo, except you get an Enter Blathnir as well. And that is a 1-card combo, and that is just so much with 1 card. I mean, one card turned into, well, I mean, technically 2 cards, but you're going to draw 5 cards in your opening hand, so it's fine. But yeah, now that I've shown you the redeployment combo, time to go into a real test hand. Alright, so the reason I want to do a real test hand is because a real test hand much better shows how the practical use of the deck actually works, because you can show people like 1-card combos all day, but with a 5-card hand, combos can tend to be very different. Luckily in this deck, Dozer combo is pretty much the same in almost every hand, except the hands where you can make rank 10 Xyzes or start like Anchor Drill, and especially like playing around certain interruptions is much different depending on the hand. So I think showing a real test hand is a little more helpful than the 1-card combos, but let's just draw a hand here. We have the Infinitrack Trencher, the Dairy Crane, the Infinite Impermanence, and Infinitrack Harvester. So we did draw our starter, which, I mean, we run 12 to 15, depending on if we go first or second. So you have like a 90% chance to see a starter, so nothing crazy there. We're going to start by normal summoning our Harvester, and of course we're going to go and search for, I wouldn't chain the Dairy Crane just yet, because I kind of want to save it for Dozer, because that point hurts a little more to get hit at. So I'm going to go ahead and search the Dozer here. If they had an interruption for it, we still have plays. They're just, you know, not as good, obviously. And then I'm going to link the Harvester. Or actually, because we have Dairy Crane, I'm not going to link the Harvester. Normally, you can link the Harvester here. But if you link the Harvester here when you have Dairy Crane, you're putting yourself in range of Nibiru. So we don't want to do that. We're going to summon the Dozer, Chainlink 1 Dozer, Chainlink 2 Dairy Crane. And this is going to protect Dozer from Ash Blossom. And then Dozer is going to resolve. And we already have Trencher, so we don't even have to like search or special that. We can actually special Tunneler, which is nice in case of other interrupts. We still might be able to see our draw 2, like if they want to negate Ballista, which is a good point of interruption. So from here, we're going to tribute the Tunneler for Trencher. Now, because we did it this way, if you want to play around Nibiru, you might as well still special the Trencher from your deck, because that's how you play around Nibiru the best. Because if you can make Riverstormer, if they want to Nibiru you there, it actually does nothing, because you can use Trencher's effect and then still bring back Riverstormer and activate it anyways. But yeah, so if you want to play around Nibiru, special Trencher from deck, but in this hand, because we already had the Trencher, I want to get the Tunneler to better play around interruption on the Ballista. From here, we're going to special our Riverstormer, activate his effect to search, of course, the Super Express Bullet Train. Alright, from here, we're going to take our Riverstormer and link it off into Goliath, and then we're going to tribute it for Riverstormer, and then link into another Goliath. Pretty standard stuff, because we just, again, are filling up our graveyard for Tunneler. From here, we're going to special summon our Super Express Bullet Train, link these off into our Ballista, because we have not gone for box yet. Because we have every piece in rotation already, because we searched the Tunneler, box can search a couple of things. So we add the box, and then you can either add Trencher for like Grave follow-up, or you can add Anchor Drill to make sure you have your Dingirsu play. I'm going to bring back Trencher, or I'm going to add Trencher, because when we pitch it off of Super Bullet, or I mean Double-Headed Anger Knuckle, it makes our follow-up for the next game, or next turn, much, much better. And then from here, we can go ahead and activate this Trencher. Special summoning, we'll just special the Dozer, because if we target the Tunneler, that just opens us up to DD Crow really hard. We're going to link off the Dozer, and we're going to special the last Goliath. We're going to link off the Goliath and the Ballista, and special Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. Now, what I'm about to do plays into Nibiru very hard, but it makes your first turn board much, much better. So if you don't want to play into Nibiru, do not activate this Double-Headed Anger Knuckle, because if they save Nibiru for the end phase, you're going to want to still be able to activate this effect to put him on your board, because you can special summon him from Grave. But in this hand, I think it's just going to work out. Just showing you guys how to make the rank 10 is we just activate the Double-Headed Anger Knuckle, special back the Super Bullet, and then from here we make our Super Dora, which is just one of the most powerful first turn tools to end your board on in this deck, because he almost guarantees you're going to live a turn. And then from here, we can go ahead and activate our Tunneler that we specialed off of our Dozer, putting back Goliath, Ballista, Goliath, and also Harvester, because end phase Super Express Bullet Train is going to want to add the Dozer back. So I'm going to put the Harvester back, send those back to extra deck, just resetting our entire engine and getting 2 free draws. Absolutely phenomenal. One of the craziest things about Earth Machine is Tunneler, and it's something people actually save their interrupts for because they don't know what else to hit, so hitting draw 2 is always pretty good. And then we're going to draw 2 free cards, which is going to be a Dozer, which makes things interesting, and Metal Cruncher. So we have some really good follow-up, along with the Trencher follow-up, the River Stormer follow-up, and we have 2 Imperms plus our Super Dora. So especially if these were like Book of Moons or Chalice, it's absolutely crazy because your first turn board is just really hard to break then. During the end phase, before passing your turn, you're going to activate Super Dora targeting himself, so that Super Dora will activate and add back Dozer. And yeah, you end with, 4 cards in hand, 2 set Imperms, and a pop, an unkillable machine, and then double-headed Anger Knuckle. So yeah, that's pretty much how Earth Machine works. I hope you guys enjoyed the combo. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.